Good morning, race fans, and a very warm welcome to the home of British motorsport here at Silverstone Circuit for the second round of the 2016 Blancpain Endurance Series. A brilliant first round at Monza a few weeks ago, where the Garage 59 McLaren 650S GT3 took the overall win. And it's now time for action on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuits. The action kicks off with a 1 hour test for the bronze graded drivers in the Pro-Am Cup and Amateur Cup classes, and the first car's already heading out onto track for this bronze test session. This is the second Blancpain event in as many weeks in the UK. The Sprint Series visited the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit last week, with Christopher Mies and Enzo Ede taking the win in the main race for the Sprint Series in their Audi R8 LMS, using the full Grand Prix circuit here at Silverstone this weekend. Length of 5.901 kilometres, 18 turns, one of the longest circuits used by the Blancpain Endurance Series this year, and a massive entry of nearly 60 cars across 11 different manufacturers here this weekend. Dave Goddard here to take you through this session, and I'm joined in the commentary box by Charlie Butler-Henderson. Charlie, I think you're looking forward to this event as much as I am.
Yeah, definitely. It's been advertised very, very heavily on television. We've got a fantastic array of cars today, and also a very fast-flowing Silverstone circuit. It's quite a flat circuit. We've just seen the circuit map pop up on the screen earlier, but yes, it's very, very fast and very challenging as well.
Well, the first car out onto track is the number 11 Kessel Racing Ferrari, the current leader in the Pro-Am Cup division, a magnificent 5th overall in the first round in Italy, winning the Pro-Am Cup class by a very clear margin, with Andrea Rizzoli, Alessandro Bonaccini and Michał Broniszewski from Poland in the Ferrari 488 GT3. Broniszewski will be out in this session, the bronze-graded driver in that machine. I should explain that all drivers in Pro-Am Cup and the Amateur Cup classes are graded as bronze, silver, gold and platinum based on their previous results and race experience, and this session just for the bronze-graded drivers. All drivers in Amateur Cup are graded bronze, while cars in the Pro-Am Cup division have either 1 or 2 bronze-graded drivers. As we see the number 87 car going through there, that's the winning car in the Amateur Cup division from Monza. The 3 drivers of that one, Maurice Ricci, Jean-Luc Bobelic and Gilles Vannelet in the number 87 car. Maurice Ricci, the man currently at the wheel of that machine. One of the Lamborghinis already coming into the pits in this effectively a shakedown session for these bronze-graded machines. The number 100 car is going past our commentary box, sounding beautiful there, the Attempto Racing Lamborghini Huracan with Louis Machiels on board.
That's an amazing car, that. I've driven one of the road cars before. It's absolutely phenomenal. And also the Mercedes. You can see the Ferrari there coming up, just doing a bit of a lunge or an overtake on the inside of the very famous and infamous Stowe corner, which is actually faster than you think as well. We're going to see a lot of overtakes there during this weekend, as then we pick up the Ferrari
That's
again.
number 42, the CMR with Sport Garage car in the Amateur Cup. 5th in the Amateur Cup standings after the opening round at Monza. Niels Stevenart, Jörg Wiebahn and Thomas Nicole, the drivers in that one. It's Thomas Nicole currently on board that Ferrari. So waiting to see when the faster times will start coming through, just effectively on a shakedown run at the moment in this session. As we mentioned, the Sprint Series were in action at Brands Hatch a week ago on the Grand Prix circuit. The Audi of Christopher Mies and Enzo Ede taking the win there, but you were rather differently occupied that weekend, I believe, Charlie.
Yes, yeah, I was racing in the Mini Challenge that weekend, and we had a very good weekend, and we left leading the points by about 6 points, and getting fastest lap again and a win, which was a fantastic weekend. And Brands is a phenomenal circuit, and these cars that we're seeing now, some of them were at the sprint race, but obviously this is the endurance race this weekend. They really were flying and howling through the trees and the back bit of the circuit at Brands Hatch, but a very different circuit today, so a very different setup on the car. They're still they're still only just cruising around, really. They wouldn't really be putting any proper lap times in yet because they're getting the tyres warm, and they're just sort of getting a feel for it as one of the cars then comes into the pits as we pick up that most beautiful, stunning Mercedes AMG GT, and that is an absolutely beautiful car. You know, I'd give my right arm to be driving one of those right now, but yeah, what a phenomenal bit of kit. Sound beautiful as well.
That's the number 89 car, the AKKA ASP Mercedes AMG GT3. Daniele Perfetti is the man at the wheel of that one. He's sharing with Laurent Cazenave and Michael Lyons, the graduate of the British historic racing scene here this weekend. They're both silver-graded drivers, so Daniele Perfetti, the Asian-based Italian, will be doing the driving in this session. The fastest lap of the session recorded so far is a 2 minutes 9.998 recorded by number 15, which is Max Cobalt, the Dutchman, as we go on board with Matthew Simmons in the Nissan GTR.
So coming out of Stowe Corner there, coming into Vale Corner, which is a very sharp left-hand bend and a very high curve on the left there. You don't want to be hitting that because it will knock the suspension out of line as they come then through the very challenging Club Corner. This is also, if it rains at all any time this weekend, that pit wall on the right-hand side is a pretty daunting place. We've seen a lot of cars in there over the last few years. Then coming into a new complex. So this complex has now been at Silverstone now for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years or so, and it is pretty fast and flowing. So coming into now Village Corner. This is a slight little dip on the inside into the right-hander as a car. We're just letting a car pass there. Coming then into a very challenging left-hander, which I do remember at some point last year getting fired off into the scenery by one of my colleagues last year. This is also really fast, really challenging. You've got to get a good run out of here. We're going to see a lot of overtakes down into this corner, which is then coming into the sort of the Luffield or Brooklands complex, and then into Luffield, which is again another challenging corner. So clipping the curb on the inside, those little traffic bollards won't be there for very long, and we've got the car, bit of a twitch there on the back end of the Nissan that we're on board with at the moment. Luffield, very, very difficult corner, got a late apex, clip the curve at the last point, and then powering through into the very fast woodcut corner at Silverstone. Coming up the old pit straight. This is the pits that they're using this weekend, not the Formula One pits, but still a very, very busy sort of place to be. Not running too wide. You don't want to run too wide there because you might get a penalty with the marshals that are ticking off the fact that drivers are, if they do run wide, they will get a penalty of some sort. This is also an awesome bit of circuit. You know, those of you that have been to Silverstone, coming into Maggots and Beckett's, very, very challenging and very fast as well. Watching Formula One cars or even these GT cars going through there, it's phenomenal the amount of downforce and grip that these cars have. And then down the very fast Hangar Straight as we come then into Stowe Corner.
That's a very daunting corner indeed, this one. Matthew Simmons at the wheel of the Nissan GTR Nismo GT3, a winner of the Nissan GT Academy, the Australian, last season, as we come back up towards the Formula One pits once again. We saw a full lap there of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
And that GT Academy was a pretty impressive thing. I've been working with Rob Barth over the last week at Rockingham, and Rob was very heavily involved here at Silverstone, getting younger people into the sport, and you know, gamers. So these guys, you know, won a competition from winning a competition on the Xbox or whatever it may be. I'm not personally into computer games, but to be able to drive now this car amongst all of these other drivers and, you know, the famous names that we've got on the grid is you know, what a prize, you know, to win. So that's gone from strength to strength and has really helped Nissan out from a marketing and a PR point of view by getting people off their sofa playing computer games, actually becoming a racing driver, as we're now on board with them now.
So coming up under the bridge on the Wellington Straight, past the BRDC clubhouse, down into the left-hander at Brooklands comes Matthew Simmons towards the end of a lap. As we say, we are using the old pits that normally be the national circuit pits here at Silverstone, rather than using the wing complex that the Formula One teams would use. Nissan GTR sounding beautiful as it comes up onto the pit straights.
So as it passes our commentary box, let's just have a little listen as he goes down the gears. You can hear the whine there of the gearbox, the diff and the engine. Let's have another listen let's have a listen through the Maggots and Beckett's complex. This is very fast. Dabbing the brakes. Oh, it sounds like we're on a bit of a bit of an easy lap now. Yeah, so okay, typical, isn't it? Typical commentator's curse. Just when you think, oh, right, we're going to get on board for a really fast section of the circuit, he's obviously on a cruising, slowing down lap, letting the tyres cool down before he maybe goes for another lap. And you can see the car in front warming up their tyres, on the Lamborghini in front of us. As I think, is that the Bentley or the Porsche on the left-hand side overtaking us? As then we go externally now, picking up the Ferrari, then coming into the new complex here at Silverstone.
There's one of the new BMW F13 M6 machines. That's the number 15 with Max Cobalt on board. Now, he was top of the times in that BMW Team Italia machine. He's sharing with Giorgio Roda and Stefano Colombo here this weekend, the Pro-Am Cup car. Didn't place in the first race of the year. He's down in 4th place on the times now, Max Cobalt. It's the number 11 car of Michał Broniszewski, the financial advisor from Poland, who has gone to the top of the charts now. The treble 6 Lamborghini of Mark Poole is now in second. The British GT graduate team, Barwell Motorsport. I think it's still Mark Lemmer in charge of that team, if I remember rightly, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. So I do a bit of commentary with the British GT series, so I see Mark now and again down in the pit lane, and yeah, they're very excited with the new Lamborghinis that they've purchased, and also the BMWs that they've been running over the last few years as well. So yeah, very, very successful team, very passionate, and the attention to detail that Mark and his team put in, it really is vitally important in motorsport. Everything's got to be absolutely spot on. So yeah, Mark's been around a very long time, very good tin top saloon racer, now turned team manager.
Yes, he appeared in BTCC briefly a few years ago as well at the wheel of Vauxhall Vectra. Change at the top of the timesheets, 2-minute 3.086, and that's been recorded by Max Cobalt in the number 15 BMW. He's gone back to the top of the times, ahead of the number 11 of Michał Broniszewski, with number treble 6, the Barwell Motorsports Lamborghini of Mark Poole in 3rd place. Heading towards us then the number 89, that's a lovely Mercedes. Daniele Perfetti, the man still on board in that car. Just looking down the timing screen, he's currently 17th quickest overall. A couple of cars have been warned for track limits as well at turn 7. That is Stowe Corner, so somebody's been running over the curbs there. Car 76, that is the IMSA Performance Porsche. The treble 8, which is the Kessel Racing, one of the Kessel Racing Ferraris, and also car 58, which is the winner of the first round, I believe, the Garage 59 McLaren comes as car 58 now. No, car 58's not got any bronze grade drivers, so that's not out in this session.
So the AMG GT, I've done a lot of mileage in one of those cars. Okay, not the proper full-blown race car, but just as a road car. The Mercedes, the German-backed company, basically have built this car to be fairly affordable. Okay, we say £96,000 worth or so for a standard road car, but they've built it specially to try and compete with the 911, which is a very obviously popular vehicle. So sold out within the first pretty much few minutes of the sales into the UK, and that gets obviously used for the safety car for the Formula 1 races as well. So that's the car we're looking at now. Very popular, very fast, very noisy, and also just looks absolutely beautiful. You know, really good livery on that car as well. Seeing them at Brands Hatch last week, they just thunder past you. The ground and the commentary box just now just thunders and sort of vibrates and shakes as the car powers past us.
Certainly does. One of the most beautiful sounding cars in motor racing today. This is the number 87 car, the other ACA ASP machine, the car that won the Amateur Cup class in the first round at Monza. Maurice Ricci, Jean-Luc Bobelic and Gilles Vanellet are the drivers. It's Ricci who's on board in that one at the moment. He's currently 11th quickest in the times with a 2-minute 5.937. And for the first time we see one of the Bentleys in close-up here, the number 30 car. Now this is the Team Parker racing car of Derek Pearce, Chris Cooper and somebody called Chris Harris, one of the new presenters of the new BBC Top Gear series. Of course, long-time racer and motoring journalist Chris Harris. Good to have him here this weekend. Also in that car will be Chris Cooper, who I believe several years ago was a star in the now defunct Caterham Euro Cup as well. Yeah,
well, if he's got some Caterham history, then he'll be a pretty close contender, and also very, very used to, you know, weaving and ducking and diving with the other competitors. Let's hope that Chris Harris as well. I was worked with Chris at Spa-Francorchamps last year on a Mercedes event, and let's hope that he can drive forwards rather than going sideways, because he's renowned to going sideways. A bit like Tiff, he's a bit of a Tiff. He likes going sideways all the time. So let's hope that he's going to be neat and tidy and driving that. You know, the Bentley just looks so big on the track. It just doesn't look like it should be on a track, but they are very, very quick. You know, with Stephen Kane a couple of years ago in the British GTs, you know, doing very, very well in it. But yeah, it just doesn't seem. It just seems very different to the Porsche and the AMG GT that we're seeing now. And then you look at the Bentley. The Bentley's a very high, big, sort of bulky car. But you know, Team Parker, they've been around a long time. They wouldn't be running a car that they didn't think could win races.
Mentioning Stephen Kane, he is here this weekend. He's in the number 7 Team M Sport Bentley. We'll see that car out in the free practice session when the overall Blancpain Endurance Series cars join in later on. As we watch one of the Porsches there, number 76, that's the IMSA performance machine. Thierry Cornac is the man on board. The car shared with former single-seater star Maxime Jousset and Raymond Narak as well, the Kodak-sponsored Porsche 911. Finished 10th in the Pro-Am category in the first round at Monza, the 76 car. Currently quite a way down the timesheets in 30th place. Oh, we've got a Lamborghini in trouble. That's the number 81 car. Now, where has that happened?
That looks like it's Maggot's Beckett's. I'm going to have a guess. Yeah, so it's coming into... No, it's not. Let's have another look. Okay, so we've got a replay. Yeah, so coming out of Stowe corner or Cops. Oh, he's very lucky. That has literally just skimmed the Armco barrier. He'll probably be just gathering his thoughts again and just thinking, wow, I got away with that. But no damage to the Lamborghini. And that is coming, yes, coming out of Cops corner and then into the Maggot's complex as well. So, yeah. Will there be a red flag or a session stopped to regain the car? It looks like it's in a safe place. The marshals on the right-hand side are waving the yellow flags. Yellow flags mean no overtaking, slow down. You've got to lift off the throttle, because if you do a fast lap under yellow flags, the organisers can actually be able to tap in and have permission to go into your data analysis of the car and also look to see whether you did actually back off on that lap or not. But no damage done to the Lamborghini. Let's hope he gets cracking again. And yeah, a bit of a shame there, but yeah, driver error, bit of a spin, very lucky to have escaped the barriers.
Yes, I think he just kept it off the barrier there, and the front of the car did look to be intact as we watch the number treble 1 machine. That's the Kessel Racing Ferrari, driven by Steve Earle from the USA, Bernard Dele and David Perel from South Africa here this weekend, the Ferrari 458 GT3. It's currently Dr. Steve Earle on board that machine, a Le Mans veteran. And here's the number 12 BMW, the Boutsen Gillon racing car, Saudi Arabia's Karim Ogier, the former Formula Palmer Audi competitor, former prototype racer, on board that number 12 car, currently down in 27th place by the look of things on the timesheets.
That's probably why they're coming in the pits, maybe for a bit of a setup change the tyres, have a bit of a chat, maybe swap drivers, whatever it may be. But yeah, they need to pull the finger out a little bit and move up the grid if they can and get a quicker time there. We got the Aston Martin, that looks like a motor-based car there, coming then into Brooklands and then Luffield, flashing its lights. The steering wheel, the drivers have a button on the steering wheel that they can actually just with their thumb just push on and off, on and off, on and off the lights, rather than having to take their hands off the wheel and flash the lights like a stalk that you would normally have on your steering column in your road car. So yeah, lots of drivers there tripping over themselves. Lap times are more important, trying to push as hard as they possibly can. So flashing lights means get out the way, I'm on a lap, move over.
Here comes the Black Pearl, nothing to do with Disney pirate films, but this is the Black Pearl Racing Ferrari 458 Italia. Alexander Matschel on board there, and we've got another one of the Ferraris in the pits. Just over 40 minutes of the session to go then.
The pit crew still, you know, all in their fireproof clothing. So we'll be seeing lots of action. I'll be down in the pit lane tomorrow for the actual race, so really looking forward to getting stuck in and giving you some insight into what happens in the pit stops and maybe get a few interviews as well. So really looking forward to that. But all the pit crew there in their fireproof clothing, because it's an endurance race. Cars need to be fueled up. Safety is paramount.
Yes, the race taking place tomorrow afternoon here at Silverstone. It is a 3-hour race this weekend. A little bit of a queue here coming into the pits, a queue of Ferraris and Lamborghinis, the 111 Kessel racing car, the treble 6 of Barwell Motorsport with Mark Poole on board in there as well, and also the number 333 of Rinaldi Racing with Rinat Salikov, the Russian, on board as well.
That's a very expensive bit of tarmac. Just that one little section there on our screen. Whatever we pick up on the coverage, that is, these cars are not cheap by no means whatsoever. So they're powering around with the Bentley there. It just looks like it shouldn't be on a racetrack.
It looks brutal, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It looks very different to the low McLarens and the Ferraris that we've just seen.
If ever you should see one of these Bentley Continentals on the road, they do not look like a race car. The teams have done such a wonderful job with them though. That's the Team Parker racing machine with Chris Cooper on board, the ex-Porsche racer in number 30. See what lap he does this time. That Bentley currently second quickest in the times, behind Max Cobalt in the BMW Team Italia, number 15. Third quickest is Mikhail Broniszewski in the Kessel Racing Ferrari, the current Pro-Am points leader, and the Bentley coming into the pits. Fourth quickest is the number 51, which is the AF Corsa Ferrari. That lap set by Rino Mastronardi, the Amateur Cup running car. I think that's the fastest of the Amateur Cup cars, I believe. No, it is the Bentley that's quickest, I apologise, in second place outright. Fifth quickest is number 24, the other Team Parker Racing Bentley with Ian Loggy, ahead of the Logson Group Packaging Company, ex-Porsche Boxster racer and Audi R8 racer last season, I believe, is in fifth position. And rounding out the top six, number 44, now that's the Oman Racing Team Aston Martin, with Devon Modell, the Clio Cup graduate, on board. Now he's going well. There's a little bit of a slip there by one of the Nissans, I think that was.
Well, when we were on board with the Nissan earlier, every time that they exited Brooklands Corner, which is down the back straight coming into the Luffield complex, you always saw the Nissan having a big twitch on the back end of the car, which means that it oversteers, so the back end of the car steps out, driver has to lift off the throttle momentarily, correct it with the steering, which then affects that all-important lap time. So, yeah, and also the Clio Cup graduate racer that you just mentioned there, Dave. It's very, very different. Clio's a front-wheel drive, very light, very nimble, very close racing, whereas this is endurance racing. Cars are slightly heavier and also faster, and most of them, in fact all of them, are all rear-wheel drive as well. So a very different driving style from a Clio to a GT car.
There is the current pace setter in this session, Max Cobalt in the BMW. Nice to see it liveried in the old-style BMW colours, if you like, the white with the red and blue trim, very reminiscent of the old BMW touring cars and pro cars of the 1980s. He's still ahead of Chris Cooper. Then it's Broniszewski, the treble 8 car. Liam Talbot, the Australian, has just gone fourth fastest in the treble 8 Kessel Racing Ferrari. Kessel Racing with a very big presence here with their Ferrari 458s and 488s this weekend. Another one of those ground-shaking Mercedes just goes past the commentary box, sounding beautiful as ever.
Those BMWs as well, you'd normally get chauffeured around the M25 with one of them, let alone seeing it with big wheel arches, big wing on the back as well, and that also thunders past as well. As then we pick up the Lamborghini and the Porsche having a little bit of a battle there as they come through Abbey, then into the new section Village, and then joining the back straight, which is again this is a really tricky part of the track. Drivers, it ruins the flow a little bit of Silverstone, but at the same time it's very important that they get on the power nice and early to get a really good run down the back straight as well, as we pick up the AMG GT Mercedes that we were featuring earlier with Maurice, who is on the times
21st place.
21st, yes. Not quite on my... Yeah, that's it, on the other screen. There we go.
So you've got the top 20 on your screen. I've got the remainder on my side of the commentary box. As the 87 of Maurice Ricci, the current leader in the Amateur Cup category on points, but quite a way down. He's about 6th in class in this session with this lovely Mercedes at the moment. Still the number 30 Bentley that sets the pace in the Amateur Cup division in this bronze test session for the Blancpain Endurance Series. A warm welcome if you are just joining us here live from the home of British motorsport here at Silverstone. The Mercedes being chased by one of those gorgeous Lamborghini Huracan GT3 cars as they come down towards Luffield 1 and 2. Then the squirt out of Woodcut onto the pit straight before heading down towards the right-hander at Copse Corner. Still Cobalt that's quickest overall, ahead of Chris Harris has now taken over the Bentley, the journalist and racer. I remember seeing him in the Goodwood Revival last year at the wheel of a classic Jaguar, and he really threw that machine around in very spectacular style indeed. So we'll see how Chris gets on here. He's gone ahead of Michał Broniszewski in the number 11 car. Liam Talbot fourth in the treble 8 Ferrari, and it's the number 51 machine with Rino Mastronardi on board. That's one of the AF Corsa Ferraris rounding out the top 5.
Yeah, Chris Harris, as we're featuring now, very quick driver. Met him a few times. A very aggressive driving style, but at the same time, you know, you've got to do that from a journalist point of view. You've got to really push the car through its paces and really entertain the viewers, which is exactly what he does as he's now coming into Copse Corner. It's a dab on the brakes, down a gear, bang straight back on the power again, not using too much road on the exit there, so he's being very neat and tidy. You don't want to be going on the green bit of tarmac that we can see there, because it is very, very slippery as well. Marshall's waving a blue flag. Blue flag means there is a faster car approaching. It means move over or stay to the side that you're already on. Coming through the Maggots and Beckett's complex there, you see the Bentley, you know, really undulating, going over the bumps as you're trying to squeeze the throttle down as much as you can, going through the Maggots and Beckett's complex, as then we pick up a different shot there of the Bentley.
That's one of the BMWs.
Sorry, the BMWs, yeah. Apologies, yeah.
The number 81 Lamborghini, I've just noticed, has got going again. It's just past the commentary box, so no major damage.
The lucky escape Lamborghini, that's the one, yes. Yeah, I remember that one. Very, very lucky not to have damaged the car there. It was close. It was very close.
We're not sure who's driving that one at the moment, unfortunately. That must be a change to the entry list as we pick up for the first time the Audi R8. Now, this is the Santelok racing car being chased by the Bentley there, and that could certainly be a contender for Pro-Am Cup success here this weekend. Gilles Lallemand, Mark Rostan, a Formula 3000 racer, got to be some 20 or so years ago now. Mark Rostan was in F3000, and also the platinum graded driver will join in later on, Marco Bonanomi, the single-seater graduate, and a very, very rapid driver indeed. The calibre of drivers that we've got here this weekend is just magnificent. We've got the likes of Giancarlo Fisichella, Formula 1 veteran in the number 53 AF Corsa Ferrari. Will Stevens, a recent Formula 1 driver with the Marussia Manor team, is here with the Belgian Audi Club team WRTs in car number 28 that we'll see out in free practice later on. Who else have we got here? We've already mentioned a number of star names. Stefan Ortelli, the 1998 Le Mans winner, will be out in the Emil Frey Jaguar number 14. The Belgian Audi Club team, of course, the Vantour brothers, and Frederik Verwisch, the former German F3 Cup champion, among others. Sergio Jimenez, Felipe Albuquerque sharing his car, the former DTM star now with Audi in the World Endurance Championship there in an Audi R8. Peter Cox, Pierre Caffer, Stephen Kane, we've already mentioned. It's like a who's who of sports car and GT racing. It's incredible. Yeah,
it's good to see these guys, you know, still racing, you know, from the Fisichella and, you know, some of the famous names that you've just mentioned. To be still racing is obviously, it's a buzz for them, it's their life, it's their career, it's their job. And these things, you know, technically, okay, they're very different to a Formula 1 car, but they've still got downforce, they've still got grip, they've still got big fat slick tyres, and they're still giving the drivers a big buzz, and also us as commentators and as the spectators and the viewers at home, you know, really do give us thrilling racing. You know, even though it's a 3-hour endurance race, I bet it does still come down to the wire of you know, different calibre of drivers, and also thrills and spills of what we're going to see, really. But yeah, awesome to see these guys still racing in these beautiful, expensive, stunning machinery.
I've covered a couple of endurance races already this season around the UK, and one of them just a week or two ago was decided by 4 seconds at the checkered flag. So
it's crazy,
a 3-hour race decided by that scant a margin. That's what we could be in for. It could be even closer than that in the race tomorrow afternoon as we watch the Kessel Racing Ferrari of number 11, Michał Broniszewski there, and we pick up an Aston Martin and one of the Nissans. That's Matthew Simmons, the Nissan GT Academy racer, PlayStation to race circuit. He's sharing that car with Roman Sarazan, who also triumphed in the GT Academy with Nissan last season, and also Sean Walkinshaw, the son of British motorsport great Tom Walkinshaw, as well, is out in that 22 Nissan. He's a silver graded driver, so we'll see him out in free practice later on.
I was talking about Tom Walkinshaw the other day, actually, because we've obviously got the Subaru estates now that have just joined the British Touring Car Championship. Tom Walkinshaw, very famous for joining the BTCC with the Volvo estates, if you remember them. So yeah, his name's being mentioned quite a lot at the moment.
Oh, I certainly do remember them. The Super Touring era being one of my favourite eras of motorsport of all time. There was one reason that was suggested that they did enter an estate. It wasn't just for publicity. TWR, Tom Walkinshaw Racing, up to that point had only really worked with rear-wheel drive cars. The Volvo 850, of course, being front-wheel drive. And it was effectively a test bed for when they switched to the saloon the following season. So it's, as well as generating publicity, it helped the team to learn working with front-wheel drive ahead of an assault on the championship the next season.
Yeah, no, and they did pretty well. They got some podiums towards the latter stages. And Ferrari goes very wide there, opposite lock there. And you can see the steering wheel being corrected. So this is like the new complex. So this is like called the Loop, and now coming through Aintree as they power down the back straight before they enter Brooklands. But yes, bit of a scary moment there for the Ferrari, but plenty of runoff on that bit of track. Not too much to worry about. He's just pushing it to the absolute limit, which is what it's all about. That's
Yuri Pizarnik, the Czech in the Scuderia Prague Ferrari 488. He's currently in 11th position in the Times, number 34 car. Sharing that car with Matteo Malocelli, who's a gold-graded driver, and there's only 2 drivers as opposed to the 3 that the vast majority of teams have got this weekend in that car, but that won't let them hold them back, that particular team. Matteo Malocelli, a very quick driver indeed, as we now watch the number 74 Audi R8 LMS, the ISR team car of Philippe Jacquet and Henry Hassid. They'll share with the vastly experienced French GT racer Frank Pereira in the race tomorrow. They're currently 5th in the Pro-Am Cup points.
Nice to see an R8 there, the Audi, as it's bucking and wallowing through the very fast section there. It's quite a bumpy bit of track there. The cars are set up very, very stiff, but at the same time, you know, that really was a lot of movement there from the Audi that we're seeing there as well. So as well as Lamborghinis, we've seen the Mercedes, we've seen the Bentley as well. There is such a different array of manufacturers and teams and cars out on the circuit. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to tomorrow's race as well, as the time's coming down slightly. So we were on 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Now the fastest driver at the moment is car number 100, which is a 2 minute and 2 second lap as well. So it is pretty tight at the top, but the times have come down. Everyone's got a lot quicker as the tyres are warmed up. They've got used to the circuit, and the ambient temperature's warming up as well as the circuit warming up as well.
Yes, Henry Hassid, who we're watching now, has just gone 2nd overall in the times in his Audi R8. The ISR car on 2 minutes 2.273. So he's we've got problems for the 25 car. That is the Gilles Lallemand, Marc Rostan, Marco Bonanomi Audi R8 number 25. So what has happened there? Gilles Lallemand, the man at the wheel, the marshals in attendance. Now, has he broken down or has he smote the barrier? Can't see any damage on the car.
It's hard to tell really, but let's just hope that he's broken down and has pulled over rather than having a bit of an accident and causing any damage.
Coming round towards the end of a lap is the number 74 of Henry Hassid. Can he go quicker than the number 100 Attempto Racing Lamborghini of Louis Machiels, who's gone to the top of the timesheets? Then let's see as he comes across the line. No, he stays 2nd with a 202.458. The Audi's going again.
There we go. So no damage. We still can't see the other side of the car. That seems very strange really, to have pulled over. So it could be a wiring problem, it could be an electrical fault, anything could be wrong with that car. You know, it's hard to tell. Maybe we'll find out a little bit later as a Lamborghini there goes wide on the exit of Luffield Corner as they power past the commentary box. And then coming into the very fast Copse Corner. But yeah, a bit of a mistake there. And another twitch as well. You saw the back end of the car just step out under the brakes. So yeah, and we are watching the fastest driver on the circuit. The reason why this Lamborghini Huracan is the fastest on the circuit at the moment is because he is absolutely on the limit. We can see that Lamborghini going wide, twitching around, catching now a slower car. That Nismo is a very, very quick car, but is obviously on a slow lap at the moment, as you can see. So watching the Lamborghini now, he's tucking right up behind the back of the Nissan, using the slipstream and the toe, and then he's done the move on the inside of Stowe Corner. It's a very famous corner where Michael Schumacher broke his ankle, I think it was, or broke his leg. A few years ago. But yeah, that corner is a very fast. So coming into Vale, then through Club Corner.
That was also where Nigel Mansell famously took the lead of the 1987 British Grand Prix from his Williams teammates Nelson Piquet, and I think that was the year the crowd invaded the track on the slowing down lap as well after Nige took his victory. Watching the Lamborghini there, the number 100, that's the current fastest car. Belgium's Louis Machiels is the man at the wheel of this beautiful blue Lamborghini Huracan. He'll share that car with Dutchmen Jeroen Mul and Max van Splunteren in the race. They're currently 8th in the Pro-Am Cup points after the first round of the championship at Monza. So their last lap was a 2:02.9 though, so he was a little bit pushing a little bit too hard, I think, there.
Yeah, a little bit slower there, a good sort of 3 or 4 tenths slower than the previous lap, which was the fastest lap, which is putting them on pole or fastest at the moment. But yeah, we saw the car, we picked up on the cameras earlier, again going wide, so that car really is on the ragged edge, and as he goes wide again, okay, that was a lot tidier that lap, but yes, let's see if the time's going to improve again. I doubt it, because he's been a little bit ragged on that lap, so yeah, much slower, a good
2:06.
Yeah, so a good 4 seconds slower than what it should have been. And remember, we saw him catch the Nissan earlier through the Maggots-Beckett's complex, which then delayed him, slowed the times down.
There is the number 42 at Ferrari, the CMR with Sport Garage car, driven by Niels Stevenaert, Jorg Wiban and Thomas Nicole. It's Niels Stevenaert, the Frenchman, on board that machine at the moment. I wonder if he's any relation to Gilles Stevenaert, who used to race in the Andros Trophy ice racing series in the winters. He's about to lose track position there to another Ferrari. That's the number 51 machine. That's the AF Corsa car of America's Peter Mann, Francisco Guides and Rino Mastronardi. It's Mastronardi on board that car at the moment, and he's currently 3rd in the times in this very impressively liveried machine, a mixture of blue and Italian tricolour. Very tasteful.
Yeah, it does look phenomenal as it then is approaching our commentary box, coming out of Luffield and then coming into the pit. So it's not going to come past our commentary box flat out, but at the same time they're doing some few setup changes, changing the tyres possibly, maybe refueling. You know, they're doing various different things, as well as trying to get the fastest lap time. The drivers are also having to learn the circuit, get themselves bedded in, because it's the first time that they've been out in the cars this weekend. The circuit's obviously very cold, it's the start of the day. There's lots going on in this qualifying on practice session, because there's so much to play for, and they've got to get familiar. The team's got to get used to as well the tyres and doing the pit stop. Sorry. So yeah, lots happening there. Even though we just see the cars sort of going round and round and round, they are absolutely on flat chat as we then pick up the Ferrari, then going through Stowe corner.
That's the treble 3, one of the 2 Rinaldi racing cars. Rinat Salikov, the Russian, is the man on board that machine. He'll share that car with German Marco Seefried, something of a Nürburgring specialist he is.
Yeah, he is,
and Norbert Siedler as well, the experienced Austrian in that Ferrari. They head across the line, across the Formula 1 finish line, going past the wing and then into the right-hander at Abbey, flick it left into Farm Corner, and we've got a spun Mercedes. That's the number 56 machine, the Black Falcon car. Now, who's on board that car at the moment? It's Oliver Morley, the British driver, sharing with Miguel Toril from Spain, and Mauro Engel, the former DTM racer. He's a platinum-graded driver. They'll be contenders in the Pro-Am Cup this weekend, but a quick spin there for Oliver Morley. I think that was up at the Maggots-Beckett's complex, and he's got it going again. So just over 20 minutes of this bronze-graded driver test still to go. There is Rinat Salikov in the Rinaldi Racing, the green Ferrari. Now, where is he in the times? He's currently in 13th place in this session. That car is actually down on the entry list as racing in the overall classification rather than the Pro-Am or Amateur Cup, so maybe there's been a bit of regrading going on there.
Yeah, I would have thought so, yeah, definitely. So lights ablaze there on the Ferrari, another Ferrari then comes through, the one we've been following, the one we've just been talking about. Copse is a very fast corner, you don't really go too wide on the exit. Beautiful bits of kit going around the circuit, aren't they? This is awesome from a driver's point of view. I remember going to the Grand Prix years ago. We got a new fastest lap, and actually a whoppingly fast lap time of a 2-minute 1.83. 44 car.
That's the car we're looking at now. It's Devon Modell, the Clio Cup graduate. He has adapted so quickly to GT racing, graduating through the British GT Championship with the Oman racing team, and he is flying at the wheel of that beautiful Aston Martin Vantage, shared this weekend with Ahmad Al-Hati, the Oman racing team boss, and also Johnny Adam, the ex-British touring car champion and British touring car racer and British GT champion, I should say, shared with Andrew Howard in the Beach Dean Aston Martin.
That's a very strong lineup, that, is it? Very, very strong indeed. You know, they've got a lot of experience with that car as well, using every inch of road on the exit there, coming down into Brooklands. But yeah, you know, try not to go too wide, because if you go too wide, you're going to lose traction. Those curbs are quite slippery if you go offline. And Aston using every single inch of road, and the back end steps out there. It isn't quite an easy place to do that. He wouldn't have lost too much time there, really, to be honest with you, and probably has aborted the lap that's coming in the pits. But yes, a little bit of a driver error there by pushing a little bit too hard into the very tight, really tricky corner, which is Luffield, which we've just seen a second ago.
One of the Porsches going through there, the number 77, as we have a look again at Devon Medell there. Got a little bit too much curb on the inside there coming into Luffield. That may have unbalanced the car. And then a little slide there through Luffield 1 before choosing to abort the lap and cut into the pits. The 56 Mercedes of Oliver Morley is up and running again, looking even more gorgeous, I would say, in that beautiful royal blue livery as it rumbles its way past the wing, and one of the Ferraris running wide there behind it didn't quite identify which one it was.
They've got to be careful that they don't get used to or get into a habit of going wide on some of these corners, because the marshals are there with a notepad, and they've got a radio link to the clerk of the course, and the clerk of the course has got a camera on every single corner watching their every move, really. So they've got to make sure that they don't run too wide and make a habit of it, because they will get penalised. And there's nothing worse than either having a drive-through penalty or getting a 10-second penalty after you put so much effort in to get up to the front of the grid and do really well at the weekend.
This is part of what this bronze grade test is all about, to help the drivers perhaps with a little less experience of these GT3 cars, perhaps a little bit less experience of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, to learn the track, learn where the limits are, learn where they can push. As the Mercedes pushing hard there, up wide over the curbs. That's the exit of Luffield, now heading past the pits. And what's the lap going to be this time from the Mercedes? That was a pretty good one. I think, yes, up to 6th position in the times now, that Mercedes with a 2:02.275. It's still Devon Medell in the Oman racing team Aston Martin who is quickest, ahead of the number 100 Attempto Racing Lamborghini of Louis Machiels. And third quickest now the number 74, which is the Philippe Giacche, Henry Hassad, Frank Pereira Audi. Fourth quickest is number 51, the AF Corsa Ferrari Rino Mastronardi has set the time there, and number 89 Daniele Perfetti has just put in a quick lap in his Mercedes and moved up into 5th position. Here comes one of the classic Porsche 911 GT3Rs, number 76 there, the IMSA performance car with Thierry Cornac on board. He'll share that car with Maxime Jus and Raymond Narat, currently quite a way down the times in 33rd place, as you can see, being chased by one of the Lamborghinis there. See what the Porsche can do this time. Heads past the wing. It's that beautiful gold Lamborghini there, having a look, trying to get through. He's flashing the lights away there at the Porsche as they head into the right-left flick at Abbey. Then it's into the left at Farm, up towards Village and the new loop, before heading onto the Wellington Straight and back onto the national circuit layout here at Silverstone. The Porsche not giving way here. No, not at all, really. Making that Porsche very, very wide. But then he's on a lap, he's doing his own thing. The Lamborghini now has sort of aborted slightly and dropped back. But yes, I talked about the flashing lights earlier. As we got the Mercedes, so we got German manufacturer, Italian manufacturer, then another German manufacturer behind that, then Mercedes then flashing the lights again, slightly yellow colour on the lights there, does the move up the inside of the Lamborghini. That would have affected the Mercedes lap time, because they've had to go into the corner slightly earlier, slightly tighter, because there's a real change of direction there. You're coming around Brooklands, which is a fast, long left-hander, and then it goes immediately into a really tight, tricky, very challenging Luffield corner as well, where we saw the Aston Martin earlier, where we saw a replay of it going sideways slightly, as we then pick up the Mercedes, as it dabs the brakes, down a gear. They've got paddles on the steering wheel, these drivers, so they can just literally go up and down the gears with their hands. They don't have to take the hands off the wheel at all. No sort of sequential gear stick, as it were, but the paddles are on the steering wheel as they power out of Cops Corner, as we pick up then the Maggots and Beckett's complex. Yes, this is Yuri Pasarek, the number 34 Ferrari. We saw have a bit of an off at this complex earlier on. We'll share that car, as we said earlier, with Matteo Malucelli, very experienced Ferrari racer, and he's caught up to the back of the Mercedes we were watching earlier and the Lamborghini, after all that cat and mouse around the back of the circuit earlier on, the Porsche ended up pulling into the pits and aborting its lap.
Yes,
so
yeah, quite awkward driving there, honestly.
Yes, we'll leave the other teams slightly disgruntled, I would think, there, as the Ferrari catches up to the number 42 Ferrari 458 of Stephen Arch-Vibard and Nicole. They're together as they come down through Vale and Club. The left-hander at Vale into the right-hander at Club. We saw some very entertaining overtakes when I was here for another meeting a few weeks ago. There were Ford Fiestas at 3 and 4 abreast through there.
Really?
I don't think the drivers of these supercars will be risking that too much this weekend, but you never know. May see a bit of bravado from the drivers in the race later on. The 34 catching up to one of the Lamborghinis here, Jiri Pisarek on the back of, no, that's one of the Ferraris, I apologise, and he makes a move on the inside there at the left-hander at Aintree.
That was close, that was
out
close.
Of the loop, out of the new loop and onto the Wellington Straight. So how long we got to go? 14 minutes to go then. It's still the number 44. No, the number 11 has just gone quickest. Mikhail Bronisevsky has just set the fastest time of the session at 2:01.699, demoting the Al-Hathi Model Adam Aston down into second place. The number 100 is in third, the Attempto Racing Lamborghini of Louis Machiels. Fourth quickest, number 74, the ISR Audi. And fifth fastest is the number 51 Ferrari, as Pisarek comes across the line in 17th place in his Ferrari. It's the number 51 of Rino Mastronardi in fifth place, which is currently quickest in the Amateur Cup division. As we pick up another of the Ferraris, that's the number 11. That's the man who's quickest overall. That's gunmetal grey and red machine of Mikhail Bronisevsky, just heading out of the loop through Aintree corner and up towards the Wellington Straight.
They're 2/10 quicker. They're 2/10 quicker than the Aston Martin that we saw a little bit earlier with Al-Hathi. 2/10 is actually quite a lot in motorsport. So it's, even though these guys are quite evenly matched, 2/10, you know, it'd be interesting to see whether the Aston Martin could maybe do a faster lap time when we get the other drivers in the cars a little bit later. We'll see those lap times come down again, maybe into the sort of the high 1 minutes. And yeah, 2/10. That's an impressive lap there that we're seeing there for the number 11 car that we're featuring now. Yeah, that's pretty quick, and not quite as quick that lap, so a little bit slower on that lap there. So maybe they've peaked a little bit too early. They've done the lap time. That lap then was a little bit slower, so they're happy with that. The Bentley.
Problems there for number 30. That's Chris Harris.
Chris Harris at spin. It's on the complex area, so it's called the loop. The corner on the inside, that curb is quite high, that raised curb, so he's going to be trying to reverse it back, and the cars are very low. They've got an expensive front end splitter on them. He doesn't want to be going over that red sort of sausage curb that we can see there featured on the camera there, because it's a very high curb, really does damage the car. But yes, all good, little spin, loads of power, rear wheel drive, and it's a very tight corner, so he'd have just squirted the power on and lost the back end slightly.
Just looking to see if he's got any damage on the front splitter, whether he has clipped a curb there. It didn't look like he had. There's the Team Parker Racing squad looking rather pensive there in the pits, but Chris Harris is going again.
That's the main thing. As long as he's still going, he'll probably come into the pits, I would have thought, on this lap, either to own up to the team. They've got pit to radio, radio to pit as well to the car, so they can actually talk to each other. So he would have been in contact with the team. They would have been talking him through some of the controls in that Bentley. As we've got a very busy section of the Maggots-Beckett's complex there. Lamborghinis all over the place, and joined at the back end there by the AMG GT Mercedes.
It's the treble 6 car in the middle of that. That's Mark Poole in the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini as they duck and dive. The Mercedes flashing those yellow headlamps once again. He's got past one of the Ferraris there. Now he'll gun for the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. Mark Poole. Oh, and another one spun there.
Club corner.
Club corner. That looks to me like possibly one of the BMWs.
Yes, and he needs to get out of the way quickly. Yes.
Yeah, number 12. That's the Boutsen Gignon racing car, Karim Auger and Julien Darra at the wheel of that car this weekend, along with Olivier Grotz, the Luxembourg driver. Julien Darra just got on the throttle a bit too early there, and round went the back end very gracefully, and he's left looking up the road.
left his little signature, the old black rubber marks on the circuit there. But yeah, fast corner, club corner, and also quite tricky and challenging. But yes, got on the power a little bit too early, lost the back end, but rejoined very safely, and is probably going to be kicking themselves that they made the mistake.
There's the Richard Abra, Mark Poole, Joe Osborne Lamborghini, Barwell Motorsport machine. I think they used to run BMW Z4s, didn't they?
Yes, they did, yeah. So Joe lives literally just down the road, lives in Olney, which is a nice little village just down the road from Silverstone. So he's a local boy, so he'll be enjoying not having to get on an aeroplane and travel the world, I'm sure, being local to home. So yeah, so wishing Joe all the best this weekend. But yeah, fantastic looking car, and also a very good driver lineup with that team as well.
Yes, Richard Abra and Joe Osborne. I think, well, Abra showing us in the car at the moment, but he's on the entry list as a silver graded driver, so I'm not sure whether it's Richard or Mark Poole in that car at the moment. On the timing screen, it's showing us Mark Poole, so we'll wait and see if there's been a regrading with that car. Still at the top of the times is Mikhail Bronisevsky, the number 11 machine, and here's one of these beautiful Audi R8s, the number 74 machine, heading past the pits. The Philippe Jacquet, Henry Hasid, Frank Pereira car, currently fourth in the time. It's Philippe Jacquet, the Swiss driver, on board that machine at the moment. Currently 37 cars have set times in this session, and that is only about, I would say, two-thirds of the entry we've got here this weekend, which gives you an idea of the size of the grid we are going to see for the race tomorrow. Well, free practice is open to all the cars later on this morning here at Silverstone, so we're going to see hopefully all the cars out in this one, this phenomenal field we've got here this weekend. We've got support as well, of course, from the Formula Renault North European Cup, the Seat Leon Euro Cup, and the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. There's around 45 cars entered for that as well. Makes you wonder where they put them all in the paddock. Yeah,
well, Silverstone's a pretty big place, an old airfield, but yes, so plenty of room, I'm sure, in the outer paddock area. Yeah, looking forward to the Lamborghini race as well. I've been watching it and following that quite closely, so I'm really looking forward to seeing those drivers sort of tackle the Silverstone fast circuit with those very powerful rear-wheel drive Lamborghinis, as we still follow in the R8 number 74 car coming through Abbey, then into the new complex at Silverstone, so coming into the loop.
So that's the right-hander at Village Corner, then up to the left at the Loop Corner itself. That's where we saw Chris Harris have a quick spin in the Bentley earlier on. Then it's into the longer, more open left there at Aintree, named after the former home of the British Grand Prix and, of course, the home of the Grand National. Then it's up the Wellington Straight, under the bridge, and down towards the left-hander at Brooklands Corner, past the BRDC Clubhouse, and then up towards Luffield and the famous Woodcote Corner.
He's gone slightly wide, yes. Like, as I said, they're coming through Brooklands. That was a great shot that we saw there. It's coming through Brooklands, which is a fast left-hander, and then you've got to get the car to change direction and get on the brakes and think about the exit as they power through, then past the original sort of start-finish line, which is the main area the main pit area we're using here at Silverstone. But yeah, we're going to see a lot of overtakes there. We're going to see a lot of spins, I think, over the weekend.
Notice the Audi has dropped to fifth in the times. That's because the treble won Kessel Racing Ferrari, with David Perel, the South African, on board, has just gone third in the times and quickest in the Amateur Cup division. So we have a new leader in Amateur Cup. There is one of the Attempto racing cars as well. That's the Porsche that they have entered this weekend. The Clement Matteau, Jürgen Hering, Nicolas Armindo car. Nicolas Armindo, a Le Mans veteran. As we watch coming through the leading car in times at the moment, just under 2 minutes 2.9. Its quickest lap, a 2 minute 1.6 for Mikhail Bronisevsky, the Polish driver, with just over 6 minutes of this bronze grade driver test to go. There's a car we haven't seen for a while, the BMW. That's the number 15 machine that was top of the times earlier on. That car has now slipped down to 10th, so we'll see what Max Cobalt can do here in the BMW M6 GT3, and he's just gone fastest in the first sector, 36.389. So Max Cobalt, the Dutchman, is really on it here as he goes through the loop. See where he comes out for the second sector, 53.115, and he looks like he's up once again. So keep an eye on this BMW of Max Cobalt. He could be about to go back to the top of the times. The BMW has been into the pits. It's slipped down to 10th in the times, but he's coming through towards Luffield now. He's got clear track in front of him. And we could be about to see a change at the top of the times in this bronze test session for the Blancpain Endurance Series. Through goes the BMW, headlights aflare. What's the lap time going to be?
Yes.
At 2 minute 1.599, he goes quickest by exactly 1/10 of a second.
Which is that's a very, very impressive lap. Very tidy as well. He wasn't using all of the full track limits, but yeah, just a very tidy, neat lap. As we see two Lamborghinis there, one getting wheeled away. They've got air jacks on the car, so that's the cable that you can see there that's plugged in at the back of the car. That's plugged into an air cylinder, and that jacks the car up rather than you physically having to manually jack the car up, which speeds up the pit stops. And you know, being as a driver when you're sat in the pits and the car gets jacked up. We've got a Porsche there spun at
so I think coming into Vale,
yeah,
isn't it? Yes, that's Thierry Cornac in the 76 car. He's not having the best of days so far.
Weird place actually. He wouldn't have spun there because he was off the track. He was actually on the different part of the Silverstone circuit. So maybe he had a problem, pulled over and fixed it. I was
just looking to see if I could see a bit of damage on the left rear there. I wonder if it had been tapped into a spin there, but he's got away. That's the main thing. He's back up and running as we watch the number 56 Mercedes AMG GT3 with Morley and Miguel Toril doing the driving in this session. They're currently 12th quickest overall. They've just done their best first sector though, 36.894. 53.6 in the second sector though.
4 minutes left, so 4 minutes left of this free practice session, and I think we're going to see, you know, that's a pretty impressive time of the BMW, the number 15 car that we just saw, but it's the last few minutes now. That's when we're going to see the title, or sorry, the position change, but as the drivers are getting more confident, faster. Yeah, this is exciting. Even though it's free practice, it still feels like a qualifying session. It's pretty cool.
Yes, of course, this won't set the grid for anything. It's not even a designated free practice session because we haven't got every single crew out there. We've only got the lower graded drivers, if you like, the bronze graders in this one. There is the Aston Martin, still third quickest with Devon Modell and Ahmad Al-Hati. It's the Omani driver on board at the moment. So looking pretty good here. Keep an eye on this Aston Martin. According to the timing screen, it is Ahmad Al-Hati on board this machine. Where is he going to slot in? Is he going to move
Not quite.
up the times? No. 2 minute 2.671. He remains in third place. That beautiful blue and white Aston. British GT regulars over the last few years. The British GT Championship is burgeoning at the moment. Some problems for the number 42 Ferrari, Bernard Neil Stevenard, I should say. That's at Luffield. He's had an off there. I would imagine he's spun coming out of Brooklyn. It's very easy to do there. Yeah,
definitely. We are going to see more spinners there throughout the weekend there, definitely. So picking up the Ferrari there, the 111 car coming into the new complex at Silverstone. Very challenging, tricky area this. You've got to really stamp on the brakes, get the car turned in, change direction then into the left-hander of the loop, and this is where you got to be pretty much as smooth as you can on the throttle from now as they power through Aintree, which is a very fast left-hand kink, going very wide there. So you've got to always have at least one tyre, as in one side of the car, on the tarmac of the circuit, and we very clearly saw the Ferrari there go very wide.
We have a red flag with just under 2 minutes of the session remaining. I'm not sure why that is, because the car that had spun up at Luffield has rejoined, so I'm not sure why we've got the red flags out, but the session has come to an early end with 2 minutes left on the clock. It's not clear why at the moment. We had that spun car, of course, the number 42 of Neil Stevenard up at the exit of Brooklands, but he's got going again. So I'm not too clear why we have gone red flags. We haven't seen any evidence of any accidents out on the circuits, but the session brought to an early end with a couple of minutes still to go. And that means that the top of the times will be Max Cobalt in the BMW Team Italia number 15. He goes quickest by 1/10 of a second ahead of number 11, Michał Bronisewski in the Kessel Racing Ferrari. Third fastest overall is number 44, the Ahmad Al-Hati and Devon Modell Johnny Adam Aston Martin. Fourth quickest, the first of the Amateur Cup cars, number 111, the Kessel Racing Ferrari of David Perel, Bernard Delhay and Steve Earle. Fifth quickest, number 66, which is the Black Pearl Ferrari. Well, there are the times confirmed then. The BMW Team Italia machine of Max Kobolts goes quickest overall, ahead of Broniszewski in the Ferrari. The Aston Martin in third, ahead of Kessel Racing. Black Pearl Racing, Attempto Racing's Lamborghini sixth quickest, ahead of the first of the Audis down in seventh. First of the Bentleys, number 24 of Tom Onslow Cole. We'll see out later. Ian Loggy doing the driving in that session. He took ninth, and Daniele Perfetti rounding out the first 10. Further down the order, the Scuderia Prague car fell to 16th. The Nissan GT Academy number 22 of Matthew Simmons and Roman Sarazan ending up in 20th, just ahead of the BMW of Boutsen Gignon Racing. 37 cars, as we said, in total classified in that bronze test for the lower graded drivers here this weekend. As we say, one or two changes to the entry in that one. We will pick those up hopefully in time for the free practice session a little later on. Some of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo cars were out running in that session as well, which explained why we had one or two number clashes in that bronze test, I should say. The Attempto Racing number 940 Super Trofeo car, the final classified machine. So plenty of action through that session, despite it being a test event. Blue flags waving throughout several of the laps as slower cars were forced to move out of the way of their quicker opposition, and a good battle at the top of the timesheets in that one as well. The Bentley's certainly well involved, as high as second at one point. They ended up slipping down the timesheets later on though. The Mercedes, in my opinion, certainly the best sounding cars we had out there. Devon Modell and Ahmad Al-Hati impressing at the wheel of their Aston Martin to end up third in the times. So an excellent opening to the weekend for the Blancpain Endurance Series in our first session for the bronze graded drivers here at Silverstone this weekend.